In this video, I'd like to talk about how to find the equation of a line when you're either given the graph of a line or you're given 2 points on the line. But we're going to start with this graph problem and recall that one of the easiest ways to graph linear equations is using the slope-intercept form. So this y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. And remember, slope is defined as how much the equation rises, or how much it goes up and down, divided by how much it goes left and right. So for this problem, what you can notice is that we are given the y-intercept. The y-intercept is just where it crosses this y-axis here. And it looks like it crosses at a value of 3. So b is just whatever that y value is where it crosses the y-axis. So in this case, b would be 3. And from here, we just need to figure out the slope of the line. And then we can plug in 3 for b and whatever m is here. So to find the slope, we need to figure out how much it goes up and divide it by how much it goes over from one point to the next. And it looks like that we go up to 4, 5, 6. So it looks like we're going up 3, and then we're going over 1, 2. So up 3 over 2. So our slope, we could write it, since it's a rise over our run, we are going up 3 and we are going over 2. So our slope is 3/2. And so let's combine all of this information into our slope-intercept form so that we get y is equal to m times x, but we just found m, which is the slope, to be 3/2. So we get 3/2 times x, and then plus b, and b is a positive 3, so we have plus 3. And let's test this to make sure that it works. So what I'm going to do is find another clean point on the graph. Let's say this point right here. This looks like the point 4, 9. And if our equation is right, then when we plug in an x value of 4 right here, we should get a y value of 9. So let's plug in x equals 4. Let me just make a little bit more room to do this. So we get y is 3 over 2 times 4 plus 3. And we're expecting this to equal 9. If it equals something other than 9, that tells us that this equation we came up with has some kind of mistake in it. So when we evaluate this, 3 times 4 is 12, and 12 divided by 2 is just 6. So y is equal to 6 plus 3, which does, in fact, equal 9. So our test worked, which tells us that we can feel very confident that this equation is correct. And with that in mind, let's move on to a second example problem. So again, it's the same thing. We're just going to find the equation of this line. And again, it's going to be in that form, y is equal to mx plus b. So recalling that b is just our y-intercept, we know that this equation crosses the y-axis at this value of -5. So in this case, b would be -5. And then we need to figure out the slope. So our slope, we know since it's the rise over the run, we essentially need to find 2 distinct points and figure out how much we go up and how much we go over. But it looks like we have a distinct point at this y-intercept, but we also have another distinct point here at this x-intercept, this point 5, 0. So we need to count how much did we go up and how much did we go over. And it looks like we go up 5 units, so plus 5 to get up to the same y value as this point. And it looks like then we just go plus 5 over. So our slope, this rise over our run, we go up 5 and we go right 5. And when we simplify this, 5 divided by 5 is just 1. So the slope for this line we found is just 1. So now combining all of this information together, y is equal to m times x, but we just found m to be 1. So we have 1 times x, and then plus b, but b in this case is -5, so we can subtract 5. And if you want, you can rewrite this as just x minus 5, since 1 times anything is just equal to itself. So this right here is what we found to be the equation of this line. But again, it's going to be helpful to test it. So let's pick another clean point. And it looks like it goes through this point right here at 10, 5. So let's test that. We're going to plug in 10 wherever we see an x. So when we do that, we get y is equal to 10 minus 5. And if this equation is correct, then we should get a y value of 5, which you can see that we do, since 10 minus 5 is just 5. And essentially, these tests just allow us to feel super confident that this equation is actually correct.